So all of these things were quite weird, because you were writing music that was, well, you had to have a map for a start. You had to say, okay, this was the journey of the music in the 80s. Music in the 80s was a kaleidoscope of very, very different styles, as you all know. Some of it was appalling, some of it was dreadful, some of it was fashion conscious, some of it was based on the synthesizer that was overused in the ridiculous amounts. But there was very, very different styles at that point. You know, the 80s were, there was post-punk, there was romanticism, there was rock, there was hard rock, there was heavy. I mean, there was so many different styles. And our band, and I think what we did was we said, look, they just don't know who they are. So whoever's famous at any given moment, they were going to appropriate that image and make it themselves.
Like all stories, like all films based on true stories, this one obviously takes some liberties. It's obviously exaggerated. How close did the film stick to its source material, which was McCormick's book?
Somewhat. McCormick's book is a kind of a rather loose tale of his journey through the English rock scene in the 80s, with no real narrative spine. So what you have to do in this is we have to use elements of that and condense certain characters in that, and because certain things we wanted to say were litigious. So there were certain characters in the book that you could get away with that said certain things that still exist today in the music business, and we couldn't do that. So we had to amalgamate certain characters and make them fictional. But what we also knew is there were certain events in the film that were fact. It was a fact that U2 put the sign on the school corridor notice board and said, sign here if you want to join. It was a fact that they all played in Larry's mum's kitchen. And Larry's mum's kitchen was tiny, and the drum kit didn't fit through the half, as you saw in the scene, didn't fit into the room. So there were certain moments in the movie that were rock fact, and to a certain extent we wanted to get those right. They were part of rock history. And some moments that we just fictionalized completely and just said, look, this is the essence of this.
I have to ask about the late, great Pete Postlewaite. This is actually the last time we'll see him on screen in a film. I read that he was actually originally supposed to play the gangster, and that when he got sick, he had switched roles, and that's how he ended up in this role as their landlord.
Pete was always a mate of mine from years back when we worked together in the theatre. And we spent quite a few years together at the Royal Shakespeare Company. That's my phone, which is ridiculously embarrassing. I will just stop it. Hold on a second.
It's not you two.
So, you know, we were together for many years in terms of we worked together in the theatre. We never got a chance to make a film together. And when this script came about, I told Pete what was going on and said, look, I'm going to do this movie about this idiot failed musician and I'm going to do a film about, you know, literally not making it rather than making it. And so he kind of wanted to be involved in that. And he was very supportive. Halfway through the process of production, I got a phone call one day in the production office, and it was Pete telling me he had cancer. And at that moment, it was private. It wasn't something that was public. It certainly wasn't something that was known in the business, because when an actor gets ill like that, then, for obvious reasons, their career immediately suffers. So what happened was, which is kind of almost a blessing, the insurance company then decided, because we had to tell them that they couldn't insure Pete Postlewaite for the role, because an actor has to be insured in order to finish the entire film, which I thought was a rather ridiculous thing to say to an actor of that stature, and who'd done so much work and contributed so much to the medium, that somehow he couldn't, at this moment in his career, go and play a tiny role. So we wrote a role for him. We wrote a role that you saw, which was a camp, intelligent, wild, crazy, gay guy from the 80s in London. And he came to the set. He was quite sick, but he managed to get himself together. And he enjoyed himself. And the most important thing about that whole process for him was that he wanted to do that. He wanted to He was going through chemotherapy, he was going through the treatment, but he wanted to perform and he wanted to act. And we wanted to give him that ability to do it. And to a certain extent, it's kind of great, after all Pete's roles, that he could be seen in something ridiculously funny and comic.
Yeah, I mean, as always, he's brilliant. It's a fantastic swan song for him, I think.